Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to the Establish the Run First Look Show for Week 7. I am your host, Gary Hartman. As the season just steamrolls right along, we have a 10-game slate coming up ahead this week. If you are new to the show, purpose of the show is to go rapid fire, position by position, to just get a first look, a little taste of what this slate might look like, plays that we're interested in, and just kind of quick overview on most of the key options for you. Start transitioning our heads from one slate to the next. I hope week 6 was fruitful for you all. This one, we have only a 10-game slate here, and I got to be honest, at first look, it looks pretty ugly. We have no over-unders over 50, which happens every now and then. We have 149, which is probably going to be the most popular of the week in the Chargers and Chiefs. And then after that, it's a bunch of low 40s, high 30s over-unders with a lot of injury question marks on this slate, as well as week 6 was a little bit of a bloodbath from an injury perspective. So you got Cardinals, Seahawks, 44.5, Broncos, Packers, 44.5, Steelers, Rams, 43. After that, a lot of low scores and team totals highest on the week. We've had a couple in these past weeks where 30s were on the board with the Dolphins and the Bills. This week, we really got the Chiefs at 27 points, the Seahawks at 26.5, and the Bills at 25.5. And then you're just down in the high teens through low 20s, hodgepodge, if you will, of mediocrity from game environments and team totals. So, kind of picking and choosing your spots that are outside of that Chargers Chiefs game, I think will be pertinent. Teams that are off this slate, a lot of buys this week. That's why we only have a 10-game slate. We got the Panthers on a bye, Bengals on a bye, Cowboys on a bye, Texans on a bye, Jets on a bye, and the Titans on a bye. So a lot of teams off the slate. Thursday night is Saints Jaguars. Should be an interesting one for Thursday. Sunday night, I believe we have Dolphins Eagles, which should be a lot of fun on Sunday night. And then Monday night, 49ers Vikings. So a lot of firepower off the main slate with the 49ers, Vikings, Dolphins, Eagles, Jaguars, all in prime time this week. Let's dive right in here at quarterback, starting, of course, with Patrick Mahomes, who once again is our most expensive on the week. We're still waiting for like a massive ceiling game from Pat Mahomes this year. 25 is his highest so far this season. This seems like the spot where it would come, right? The Chargers have been giving up big games to quarterbacks seemingly every week. Again, last night to Dak Prescott. They find themselves in these environments where they're giving up a lot through the air. And this seems like a spot in which Mahomes can get it done. Now, the problem is spending up a quarterback has been rough over the last year or so from a tournament perspective. We're seeing spend down options kind of be needed with how tight pricing is. That said, I do think, I always say when you get these guys that are going to get close to 40 points, it really doesn't matter what their price is. That is usually a score that you absolutely need. I could see that within the range of outcomes for Mahomes this week. So I like him at 8,300. Allen only 100 less going into New England. Obviously, Josh Allen has a massive ceiling always. I don't love the spot going into New England. I know the Patriots have been a complete mess, but this still seems like a little bit of an ugly spot for Allen. I'd want tournament exposure, but he wouldn't be like a cash game option at all. Herbert, they've priced all the way up to 8K now. Obviously guessing a little bit after last night. I'm guessing they were probably anticipating an even bigger game than he ended up having. He's throwing the ball like crazy, which we're glad to see. And we've seen a little bit more of a ceiling this year under Kellen Moore than we have under previously. But 8K is a lot for Justin Herbert. I'd rather try to find the $300 to get up to Mahomes. Gerald asks, does Mahomes still have a 30-point ceiling? Absolutely. I mean, he's got a 40-point ceiling, really. I know that it's been really ugly, and the Chiefs' offense is kind of meh with all these crappy receivers. But, of course, he has a 40-point ceiling really in there still. Lamar seems underpriced when you consider Herbert's 8K. Lamar at 76 seems fine. We're off 2 bad Lamar weeks. They just had 3 straight games on the road, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Those are tough spots. Lamar did in that Cleveland game still have almost 30 points. We've seen 32 in week 3. Now he goes home, gets a Detroit team where this could get a little sneaky for a back and forth here. Wouldn't be surprised to see this game be an interesting one for sure. And the Lions have a much better defense this year than they have in years past, but this seems like a pretty good Lamar spot to me. I don't mind him at all. Looks like Justin Fields is going to miss a little bit of time, so he's out of your options. I'm not going down to what's his face, Tyson Bagent here. I don't think I'm interested in him even at 4,900. We'll talk about some of the cheap options here in a second. Stafford at home against the Steelers. I'm not that interested. The Rams offense has been good. And again, Stafford continues to be a much better real life quarterback this year than fantasy quarterback. And you really need 303 or 4 touchdowns. It's in the range, but at 65 in that mid tier, not that interested here in Stafford. Goff, again, I'd rather try to find the $1,200 to get up to Lamar in this game. And usually I like Goff at home. I don't want to totally rule it out, but the Ravens, good defense. You can see here, I guess, first, whenever the DraftKings metric is against quarterbacks. Geno Smith is definitely the 6K quarterback I'm probably most interested in. I'm guessing he's going to be a cash game option here. They have a great home matchup against the Cardinals. They have the second highest team total on the slate. You're going to see a theme throughout the show with me being interested in Seahawks this week, and I'm sure the field will be as well. An interesting pivot, though, will be Jordan Love, who's $200 cheaper and has shown a really low floor and high ceiling this year. So at 5,800, you see a ceiling of 26-ish points. That's his highest this year. You take that for sure. Adds a little bit with his legs. We'll see if they get Aaron Jones back, but they, on the road, a little bit tough, but man, this Denver defense has just been horrendous. So, definitely like Love. Curious to see what his ownership comes in at. If he is someone that would be considered for cash, I don't know. But, definitely would be a name to consider. So that, looks, and this is why I think guys like Lamar and Mahomes might fall through the cracks from an ownership perspective, because I'd imagine people are going to be living more down in this range here with Geno and Jordan Love. We'll see if Daniel Jones is playing. If he is, I think it's totally fine to keep going there in tournaments. Another very low floor, high ceiling player. Was encouraging at the very least to see the Giants play a competitive game on Sunday night. Hopefully they are able to keep him upright a little bit more than we've seen. To be determined if he's playing. If he's not, I think Tyrod Taylor is also in play at 5,100. He looks pretty good on Sunday night, all things considered, with how bad this Giants team has been. We're wait and see mode on Deshaun. Don't know what's really going on there with the shoulder. If he plays, he should be in your tournament pool, I would say for sure. Sam Howell also can make your tournament pool for sure against the Giants. Don't mind that whatsoever. Going down here, we'll wait and see on Jimmy Garoppolo. We're kind of wait and see on Baker. A lot of question marks on the quarterback position here, and really all these positions for sure. Desmond Ridder has been optimal 2 weeks in a row, and credit to him. It looks like this Falcons passing game is starting to come on a little bit when we thought they would just be super run heavy, which is good to see. I don't like this spot against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, though. That does not seem like a good Desmond Ridder spot. Kenny Pickett's only 5K, and, this Rams defense has been better than we all expected. And Pickett and the Matt Canada offense is hard to invest in. But, again, this is an ugly week if you want to try to take some shots here in tournaments. I do think if Aiden O'Connell starts once again over Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he would be interesting against the Bears. So I think that's something to consider. All right, let's go over to running back here. Austin Eckler made his return last night, first time since week 1, did have a pretty full role, was not able to get anything going against this Dallas defense, but, still eclipses double-digit points because of what he does through the air. So against KC, Chiefs also have a good defense, but if you want to invest in this game, I think he's going to be a little bit hard to get to at 8.6. Curious where his ownership ends up settling in. Saquon in the second half looked like a completely different player after bursting off a couple big runs there. Still not efficient there, but now you get a much better matchup with Washington. You have a pretty good front seven, but I'm not too scared of that matchup there. Can make your player pool. Josh Jacobs' role remains incredible. It just has not been able to be efficient whatsoever. I mean, look at these yards per carry here. Hasn't eclipsed 3.6 this season. Really bad, but excellent role. And all we really care about in fantasy is opportunity. He continues to be a true 3-down workhorse. Again, I'm a little bit scared of investing this game with no Justin Fields to push the Bears forward. Perhaps no Jimmy Garoppolo. I think this game could be a little bit ugly, but I'm going to keep being interested in Josh Jacobs given this role. Bijan, also back-to-back weeks of inefficiency and kind of pedestrian play at best with 12 and 13 points. Again, similar to Austin Eckler, I think he gives you a floor because of his work through the air. 7,300 is okay. I don't love this matchup against the Bucs. just an tournament play for me. Looks like David Montgomery and Kieran Williams are going to miss. That'll open up some value down the board. Cover boy of this video, Kenneth Chalker III. I said Chalker because I'm pretty sure we're going to get some chalk around this guy this week. Excellent matchup against Arizona. Another guy with a really good role. And even when he's inefficient, as you saw this past week, down the end zone, add another 3 for 27 through the air, got up to 18 points, had 22 total touches. You love to see that out of Kenneth Walker. Still believe in the talent. We know there's a ceiling there. This seems like a very good play this week. Absolutely. I'd imagine he's going to be a tournament option. And it seems like now once you eclipse or break down that 7K tier, and this is where a lot of options start to come into play for you at running back. And that's why I think that top tier will be an interesting pay up to get contrarian spot this week. Aaron Jones, I'd imagine he's going to be back this week. Had the hammy and was inactive before the bye there. I think he'll be back. And if he is, it's a great spot. Jonathan Taylor against the Browns, I don't think I'm going there. I want to see it first on Jonathan Taylor. I love being early on guys, but out with the split with Zach Moss, didn't have a full off season. I feel like they're keeping him under bubble wrap a little bit here. Obviously, we know there's a ceiling there for Jonathan Taylor. They're at home. He should make your GPP MME pool, but that's about it for me on Jonathan Taylor. James Cook, he's still getting, not getting the work around the goal line because of Latavius Murray. I like him. I don't love going into New England with these Bills guys. It's fine. I don't hate it. Gibbs will certainly be a popular option. Sounds like Campbell said he's trending in the right direction. Doesn't seem like David Montgomery is going to play for a couple weeks here. He's only 6,300. The kind of paradox on Gibbs here is the last time Montgomery was out, they shifted him to the base down work, kind of took away his pass catching role a little bit, gave that to Craig Reynolds or whoever these backups were. If, the ceiling case on Gibbs is getting it through the air as well. So I like him, and I would imagine he'd be quite popular, but I want to see that work through the air. A lot of that for me on Gibbs will be dependent on what the ownership looks like once we get around this week, but hard to say it's a bad play. Going into Baltimore, spot. We'll see. Zach Moss is still probably too expensive, but again, man, even with Taylor back again, 2 weeks ago, we get the super efficient game, 2 touchdowns with Taylor's first game back. This week, not efficient at all, only 7 carries, yet gets to 18 points because he gets 6 catches and 38 yards to the air and finds the end zone. This is a guy that needs to be in your player pool. I know it's overpriced. It's a bad matchup, but he should be in your player pool. Pacheco definitely has the true workhorse role here. Good matchup against the Chargers. Do like him quite a bit. Brian Robinson also gets a good matchup against the Giants here. I wouldn't be surprised to even find the end zone. 5,800 is a nice price. So, again, this tier is one that we like to be living in. Ramondre as well finally had a good game. Only 10 carries, but 15 total touches with the 5 through 24 through the air. Found the end zone, was efficient in his work. I still believe in this talent, and I think he's underpriced for what that ceiling ultimately is. A little bit scared off of this Broncos run game right now. We did get an efficient game out of Javonte Williams against the Chiefs, but between him and Jaleel McLaughlin and Samaje Perine, it's a little bit of a committee there. I don't mind it because the matchup's not too bad, but it's something to consider. And then you got a bunch of just kind of punt-ish plays down here. Craig Reynolds and some of these guys I think should make your player pool considering the situation with the injuries ahead of them. We'll see what happens with the Rams. Looks like Ronnie Rivers is also going to be out. So, I guess that leaves you kind of with rookie Zach Evans. So there'll be some punt value options at running back to save some money this week. So keep an eye on projections for all of that stuff. Going over to receiver here, Cooper Kupp is way right back up to his price from his Triple Crown 2 seasons ago. And really impressive to see. There's a lot of rumors about Kupp and what was going on with the hamstring. And I don't know if there's any degenerative stuff down the line there, but he is playing full role. Looks like Cooper Kupp to me. Really happy to see it. Another 7 for almost 150 and a touchdown. Like with Justin Jefferson on the shelf, this is our premier fantasy receiver right now, and he is priced appropriately at 9.5. Happy to see him back like that. Stephon Diggs, though, just the model of consistency this year. He's right up there. On pace for his best season as a Bill. Another huge game against the Giants, 16 targets, 10 for 100. Goes into New England here. if I am to pick on a Bill this week, he'd probably be my favorite just because I think there's such a high floor ceiling combo this year with Stephon Diggs. Keenan Allen, I was on the Showdown show last night saying, hey, if I'm to pick between Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, and Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen was my least favorite. And that's because his ceiling, in my opinion, goes down considerably with Austin Eckler back. Yet 7 for 85 and a touchdown gets it done no problem. And that's very much in the range still. I just don't think you're getting these games like you saw in week 2 and 3 with Eckler back at 8.6. That's pricey for me. That's really pricey for me on Keenan Allen. Probably want him in correlation in game stacks at that price. Devontae, a little bit of a squeaky wheel narrative. I don't know if he's not 100% here after having dealt with that shoulder injury for a couple weeks. And, 2, I guess, toughish matchups in a row with Green Bay and New England, but they were at home for both those. Going into Chicago, I mean, it's certainly a get-right spot for Devontae Adams. Curious if the field is off him with that 8-2 tag coming off, really 3 pedestrian games. The 8 for 75 only gets you 15 DraftKings points. You need a lot more than that when you're Devontae Adams, but we know what the ceiling is there. I do like kind of the squeaky wheel. Let's see hopefully Jimmy Garoppolo is playing for his sake. Amon-Ra is a guy that to me is completely matchup proof, so I don't mind the Baltimore stuff. And, he was a great tournament play this past week as someone that was falling through the cracks a little bit, 12 for 124 and a touchdown. Love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Puka Nacua, now with Cooper Kupp, the role is still excellent. I think that he's going to continue to be a really strong GPP play off of Kupp with much less ownership and a much cheaper tag. I still like Puka there. Evans and Godwin, it's dependent on Baker's status, but I still prefer Evans right now in this offense. Mentioned the Seahawks stuff. Metcalf, we're waiting on a huge game from him this year. Have not had it yet. Still the main target in that offense, though, and he's under 7K. That seems like a good play to me. This week, Pittman, Minshew likes Pittman, man, and he's kind of that possession middle of the field receiver that I think Gardner Minshew likes. It's just not the best matchup with Cleveland, but someone that should be in your tournament consideration week in, week out. DJ Moore, I'm not going to without Justin Fields. I don't think. No, thank you at 65. I mean, in tournaments you could consider him, but it's rough. Jacoby Meyer's been great. It was a good revenge game for him against New England. 5 for 61 and a touchdown. Really been very consistent. I don't know. Well, again, it depends on Garoppolo's status, but both these guys and the offense has still remained so concentrated in Vegas that all these guys could have ceilings. I know Gerald's asking, how do we feel about Adam's ceiling with Jacoby? Like, all these guys are fine. They all have ceilings because it's basically Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs. We did see Michael Mayer get much more involved this past week. Maybe that throws a wrench into things, but for now, I'm still buying into the concentrated offense. Amari Cooper, prefer him if Deshaun Watson is back. But with PJ Walker at quarterback this past week, he still had 4 for 108 on 8 targets. So, I like Amari Cooper week in, week out. His price seems to always be right at 61. Lockett, we're going to get a big game from Lockett one of these days. I know he had that 2 touchdown game in week 2. I always like Tyler Lockett in tournaments because he can just explode at any point for sure. Gabe Davis is still too cheap, probably at under 6K. Been a much better Gabe Davis this year than last year. Really hard to recommend these Broncos receivers right now. I have not seen a semblance of a ceiling from Jerry Jeudy. Courtland Sutton's a little bit better for sure, and he's cheaper at 52. And then, you're getting down to these 5K guys. Pickens should be in your tournament pool. Christian Watson certainly is very cheap at 5,600 and a great matchup with Denver. Like him a lot in tournaments this week. The Giants, I don't trust to stop the Washington receivers, but it's really McLaurin there. And then Curtis Samuel. Jahan Dotson's been a big disappointment. And then Drake London, still way too cheap. And, I've been writing about him in cheap wide receiver volume forever. He's going to miss the column this week because he's now over 5K finally. But I loved him this week against Washington. I thought it was a great play. The receivers have been killing the Commanders, which puts those Giants guys also this week in play. Perhaps Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt or Wan'Dale Robinson should be making your player pools. I'm not going to talk under 5K because you should have a subscription to Established Run. Go check out cheap wide receiver volume. We'll break down all those options for you in that article. Going over to tight end, Travis Kelce, once again in a tier of his own here, 2,300 more than the next highest tight end, and that's Mark Andrews, who has a very big ceiling to his own right. So that's very excessive. They really priced up people this week. Your studs were priced up big time this week. So Kelce at 8K, again, kind of a correlation thing for me. I know Cody had some stats last night in the Showdown stuff about how the Chargers are vulnerable in the middle of the field. It was part of his reason for flag planting Jake Ferguson. So, I think he is definitely going to be in play for you. But I'm a Mahomes Kelsey stack, like that is so expensive, and that's what DraftKings price makers are trying to get it to be. Andrews, meanwhile, super underpriced at 5,700. I love a Lamar Andrews stack, considering how much cheaper that is, with the ceiling not being that dissimilar to Mahomes Kelsey. So, really like that. And again, that Lions Ravens game, it feels a little bit sneaky to me this week. So curious to see what kind of ownership comes in. Laporte on the other side has been excellent. Had another 11 targets this past week. Not the easiest matchup with Baltimore. And he's priced up, 53. I guess he's priced down a little bit from last week. I just love the role. I love the talent. I think he's a great player. Prefer to find the 400 to get Mark Andrews, though, if I'm playing a tight end in that game. Darren Waller, we're starting to see come on a little bit. Tyrod Taylor was certainly looking for him. Could have had a much bigger game at the end there if he was able to not get held on the last play of the game, and could have come down with that ball. But, I kind of like him at 5K against Washington. I really do. I think he's a good play. We'll see who's starting at quarterback there. Definitely no Cole Kmet at 4,200 with what's ever going on with the Bears quarterback situation. Not that interested in Hunter Henry against the Bills. Again, Kyle Pitts now, they priced him up from 35 to 4, but we've had 2 straight games now of double-digit points. You take that at the tight end position. Found the end zone this week after an 11-target game the week before. And I mentioned, we're starting to get a little bit of level of competency from this Falcons pass game. I think that's totally going to be in play for you this week. We'll see about Pat Freiermuth. He says he expects to play in week 7, somebody that should be in your player pool at sub 4K for sure. And then, a bunch of just standard options. Logan Thomas was a big disappointment in week 6 after being massive chalk after his 11-target game. Was a bad play this week, and I'm upset at myself for investing him in a little bit. Musgrave, like him against the Broncos a lot. Still expecting a breakout game from him one of these days. The role is really good. Another 7 targets before the bye. For Luke Musgrave, like him. Njoku at only 34 against the Colts should be in your pool. And then, then you're in the 2K range. And there's some guys that can make your pool this week at 2K. Dawson Knox can make your pool. Kate Otten can make your pool. Michael Mayer certainly can make your pool at only 2,700. I'm sure he's going to be popular after his increase in role. All right, that will do it. Top Shot Picks says buy a subscription. Couldn't recommend that enough. Go check out establishthedrun.com. We have NBA, a week away. I'm a proud member of the NBA team over there. We're going to be working our tails off from start to finish on the NBA season, DFS season long. Props, we'll be handling that for sure for all of you. So go check out Establish the Run NBA. Check out Establish the Run NFL. Everything we have going on there. We have podcasts hitting your feed later today for team by team. And please do hit the like button on this video. I'd really appreciate it. Help grow the channel, help grow this video. Yeah, Pete's ready for NBA, baby. We all are. We're excited. And excited for everything ahead. Good luck in week 7, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back with you next week. Take care, everyone.